Francesca started with epilepsy actually before her autism, and first seizure was at the age of 2.5. She then had another seizure 4 months later, and gradually they came closer and closer together until it was a really frequent thing. So we had to put her onto medication. And at that point, I think that's when things started to slide into what began to look like autism. Over time, her language regressed, and it's really hard looking back to know how good her language was. I don't think it probably developed absolutely normally, because we do remember a lot of echolalia. She would just recite whole bits of books beautifully, and we thought she was terribly clever and she'd be an actress, and we really didn't realise that that actually was a sign of a language disorder. But gradually she started school. She was a little bit slower than the others, but we didn't think anything of it until the school, it was an independent school, said to us, we can't cater with her special needs anymore. And it came completely out of the blue, because we just had no idea. And it turned out that they felt that she did have autism, but had never mentioned it to us. And not even actually until after they said that they couldn't keep her at the school. We persuaded them to keep her for another year so that we could figure out what we were going to do and go through the statementing process, which obviously took a long time. And we sort of did two things. We went to see a private educational psychologist who immediately picked up severe language disorder. We spoke to her neurologist, who also, I asked about the autism, because lots of people had by now sort of said, does she have autism? And he just said, no, it's way overdiagnosed. Autism is not what she has. It's, let's spare her that label, it's not right. But we did, when we had the multidisciplinary assessment for her statement, we did then get a diagnosis of autism. So we then went through the process of finding her a school. Didn't think she needed special school at that time, which she probably didn't. So she had a one-to-one support at a mainstream primary school, which was great. They were fantastic. The learning support assistants she had were absolutely wonderful, worked with her very positively. But looking back, they didn't really know quite what to teach her. And just over time, we realised it wasn't quite what, she wasn't really sort of progressing. And then TreeHouse opened next door, which was just, the school was obviously just placed there for us, is the way we look at it. So she went there for music lessons and PE lessons. And then gradually she did a full day once a week, and then Haringey Special Needs actually suggested that we could maybe have a dual placement. So she did 2 days at TreeHouse, 3 days at Tetherdown, and over time just realised she really is a special school girl. And over this whole period, obviously, her autism had just been getting progressively more difficult. The school has done so much for Francesca, in the sense that they have really sort of got me to understand about doing more with her. And ABA is absolutely common sense. It's everything I remember reading actually when the kids were toddlers, about being positive, praising, breaking things into small steps, and making sure that you work on giving rewards for little things, and just building on things all the time, which is what TreeHouse has really taught me more and more over the years. I think just got it now completely natural. The benefit for Francesca that the TreeHouse has brought is a certain amount of independence. Okay, she's never going to be independent, but it's given her things like being able to wash her hands, being able to go to the loo and do all the things you need to do by herself, sometimes with a verbal prompt, but basically she can now do all the things. She can get dressed by herself, she can, and all of those things were taught at school. We didn't realise that that she wasn't getting dressed as quickly as most kids would do until her little sister started wanting to put on her own clothes, and we were thinking, hang on, Francesca's not doing that. So, TreeHouse has taught us all those things to give her just a certain amount of independence within her own life. And obviously, teaching her as best she can read. She's probably reading stage 5 or 6 of the Oxford Reading Tree now, which I think is amazing actually. It took a long time to get there, and we're now working hard on sort of understanding what she's reading, which I think is much tougher. Her math skills are not there, but actually I don't altogether care. What does it matter if she doesn't know her maths, it doesn't matter a bit, because ultimately I want her to be able to do something. I don't want her to just do nothing, but I want her to be able to do something in her life, work-wise, that she is happy to do. It's really interesting because my husband at the time and I had kind of different responses to it. I'm a very, very laid back person, and to me it was like, okay, we'll just deal with it, do whatever we need to do. It didn't altogether worry me. Obviously I needed to sort school out and make sure she had the right support. It was much more difficult for my husband to accept, and I think that's often the case. I think men find it much, much harder to deal with than mums. I think mums do just, whatever happens, their children are just fine and it doesn't matter and it's okay. Impacts on our family probably much more now than it did. I think when children are younger, you can almost sort of get away with funny behaviours and sort of singing and things in the street. You can get away with it when they're little. Certainly when they're toddlers, it's no problem at all. And as they get older, it's just quite sweet. Now when Francesca sort of jumps up and down and runs and sings at somebody, they do look at her a bit sort of surprised. But as I said before, I'm very laid back. I just say to people, she has autism, with a big smile on my face, and it's just so, if she does something odd, she might not talk to you, she might not respond to you, or she might just go up and give you a hug. Who knows? She's very unpredictable, but she's happy in her own world, and I don't know, frankly, many children that are happier than Francesca, so she just gets on with life and that's her way. Friends are actually fine with it. In fact, I have some very good friends who were completely fine with it when she used to sort of, stuff things into their DVD players and rip up their video covers and whatever else. Just got on with it and we're fine. But, it might have been different. We might have had a much bigger social circle, I'm not sure, if we hadn't had the autism to sort of play with. So it may be that we've actually just managed our lives around it, probably. Francesca is not interested in friends at all. We have, in fact, there's a girl who was at TreeHouse School in her class who is much more sort of sociable. She's being homeschooled, and she would love to be Francesca's friend. Francesca's just not interested, and I'm very lucky that we have Anya, her little sister, who, not little anymore, but Anya is actually very happy to be friends. But Francesca is really, really is in her own world. She is not bothered about other people at all. But yeah, it's hard to think that she's not really bothered about me, and I mean, I know she loves me, but it's not an obvious sort of it's not obvious like it is with Anya. Francesca's autism is such that it means her days are actually very similar. She gets out of bed not particularly willingly, but that's possibly like any other teenager. She immediately will want to go and play on the laptop, so I have to, no, you have to go and have your shower and brush your teeth and have breakfast. And given a choice, if I literally said to her, right, Francesca, you can do whatever you want today, she would spend all day, every day on a combination of playing on the laptop, maybe doing YouTube or some Barbie games, CD-ROMs, and then flitting between that and her DVD player and or video, which we still have the old-fashioned video. So there's a combination of all of those things. And she goes through phases of just 2 or 3 days at a time where it'll be one particular thing. So like at the moment it's The Little Mermaid. Ariel is just constant, but I know in 2 or 3 days time it will be back to maybe Peter Pan, Toy Story, Shrek. 2 or 3 days at a time, and then it changes onto something else. Intervention is hugely important, and sometimes I feel very guilty that I don't do enough of sort of bringing her out of what she would like to do. She does do on a Saturday Resources for Autism Saturday Club, which is fantastic. They do lots of really nice sort of creative stuff. They make things, but yeah, I have to work quite hard at doing that, and certainly that's one of the things I love about TreeHouse. The summer holidays are only 3 weeks, so that means I can realistically pack 3 weeks worth of things together. That will mean that she doesn't just spend all day every day on the computer. I can do a 2-week holiday, we can go out. Because once she's out of the house, it's fine, she'll do whatever. She loves going on the bus, she loves going on the tube, we can go on trips. She loves going to the movies. So we can do other things, but it is hard. It's, needing constant sort of intervention, which, yeah, it takes its toll. And I do often think in the future, when she and I are alone, because obviously she will be dependent on me, and although I now accept, because I have to say a few years ago I did think I would just have to give up work, I wouldn't be able to do anything, you know, how would I cope with having her? But obviously I now realise through a lot of the work that TreeHouse has done that there is support out there, and that there will be people that will be, you know, befrienders, carers, whatever, so that she will be able to sort of do things during the day so that I can continue to live some kind of life of my own. For me, actually, now sitting in this shop, that's exactly what I want her to be able to do. I've always felt when we've shopped in Tesco and supermarkets, she has always been interested in putting things straight, tidying things on the shelves, making it all look neat and ordered, and I just love the idea that she could work in a shop like this. She also does enjoy baking, and you know, again, we have to sort of push her into it, but they at TreeHouse actually did a fantastic app on an iPhone for her with all the steps of how to bake certain things, and she followed it like a dream and really enjoyed. I think she made pancakes or something, and she just did brilliantly. I've obviously now had to force myself to think more about the future than I ever have done in the past, and right now I've put together a 20-year plan, which includes, I think, ultimately running a bed and breakfast with Francesca, because I think a lot of what she enjoys doing could absolutely be done in that sort of environment. And Anya wants to live in the country, and I just think, okay, the whole thing could just work brilliantly. It's a very, very hard question actually as to what advice you would give somebody newly diagnosed, because actually the most important thing I think is to talk to other parents, and actually that's often the hardest thing to do. Support groups is one thing that I never imagined in a million years that I would be interested or involved in, but actually they can be really, really useful. You just need to be talking to other parents that understand what you're going through. And I genuinely am going to write a book one day, because I have learnt so much that I think is, you know, good to share with other people. But the most important thing is just try as far as is possible to chill out about it and to recognise every positive step that's taken. In fact, which reminds me of the Christmas show yesterday at TreeHouse. There was one pupil who started at the school about 18 months ago, and he stood up on that stage and sang his song, dressed up in his costume, behaved beautifully for whatever it was, 3 or 4 minutes. And I just, you know, I look at how he was 18 months ago and how he is now, and I said to his mum, you should be so proud of him that he was just able to be on stage and be positive and lovely, and it was just phenomenal. Francesca has just made me realise that actually life is just about being happy, and that's it. That's actually all that matters to me. I don't frankly care about money or houses or none of that. I just want to be happy, and Francesca, as I said earlier, is probably one of the happiest kids I've ever known. Anya has managed to get herself into an amazing secondary school. Hopefully we'll have all kinds of options, whatever she chooses to do. Yeah, my outlook is just, let's be happy and make the most of every day, because goodness knows what's going to happen tomorrow.